Hi guys, we're just going to get into a presentation that I did on audio um, yesterday. I just want to do a video presentation. I'm going to try and cut it down to 20-30 minutes. I think it was about 46 minutes. And if I can be quick, because obviously I'm going to have to upload it on YouTube and it won't be the same. But let us begin. I'll just begin with a word of prayer anyway. Father in heaven, hide me behind thy cross. And Lord, touch my tongue, touch my lips, give me clarity of mind, clarity of spirit, and be with those who watch or listen to this video. In Jesus' name, amen. Right, we're going to begin with a subject that not many people are talking about. And the subject is the climate bill. We've seen COP21, we see the Queen, we see all the rich people. The health passports. We're seeing in Sainsbury's and other places that they've got QR codes. You can't go shopping unless you've had double vax or triple vax. We're seeing a whole heap of things happening that are unprecedented in our land and in our country and globally around the world. The same things are happening in Austria. You've seen that there's a war between the vax and the unvaccinated. Now, what is all this about? We know that it's not the mark of the beast. We know that the vaccines, the COVID-19, etc., is not the mark of the beast. But we know that it's leading to the plane of Jura. We know it's leading to the plane of Jura, where we're seeing the machinery being developed and being built to bring in the Sunday law. Now, we also understand that the climate bill is really the hidden hand of the Sunday law. This we know without a shadow of a doubt. You know, it's going to come with the global holiday. No one is really discussing it. Within leadership, they're telling us, and I'm talking not from the local level, really. Yes, you've got a few local pastors that are locking down churches and wanting everybody to be vaccinated. But really from the general conference up, we have them coming down telling church members that they need to be vaccinated and that we must trust the science. Now, before I really get into what I'm going to get into, I like to say this. That science that they're telling you to trust of Moderna, Pfizer, and all these companies were the same science up in heaven that Lucifer's using in the third heavens. Now, if you want to trust that, you can trust that science. That was called consummated craft. Even as we're seeing the health passports, everything coming down, we understand what's going on. We're coming to the Sunday law crisis. So let's just jump into what I'm going to get into. Yeah, I'm going to use a few notes because I'm no longer a professional no more. Where I had it all in my head and I can remember everything. You know, the brain's got slow, the hair's got grey, climbing up to nearly the ladder of the 60. We're just getting there. Anyway, not so much in this presentation, but in our latter presentations, we'll be setting the stage to look at Revelation 13 part A. And obviously, Revelation 13 part A, and you jump into Revelation 13 part A, Revelation 13:3 part A, it's dealing with 1798. 1798 is the arrival of the first angel's message. And within those elements there of 1798, we saw the fall of the papacy. And we know it was the policies of Rome, socially and politically, that brought the French Revolution and brought the downfall of her. And we saw two heads roll. We saw in 1793, we saw Louis' head roll, and 1798, we saw the head of the papacy. And we know that the waters that supported her, and she's Miss You Babylon, that these same waters are being re-embellished again to bring her back on the throne. And this takes us to Revelation 13:3 part B. Part B is our days. Our days, 100% our days. And the nail in the coffin is 1986 to 1989. This is a time span where we actually see Revelation 18 kick into span, which are the merchantmen. And they're the very important people that we really are looking at, the merchantmen of Revelation 18. Now, Revelation 13:3 part A is dealing with the physical markers. So the physical marker of the fall of the papacy under the first and second angel's message. And as we get to Revelation 13b, which is our days, which is the spiritual markers that bring us back to the rehearsal of the papacy. She fell, as Revelation 13 says, her deadly wound was healed. We're in Revelation 13:3 part B. And for a lot of you don't understand that Daniel 11 is also Revelation 13. Daniel 11:40 is exactly the same thing. Daniel 11:40 part A is 1798, but from a different perspective. The perspective is that Daniel is saying that the king of the north is coming. And if you go to Jeremiah, Jeremiah told the Jewish nation that exactly that, he has a seedling pot. And the Lord asked him, what do you see? And he saw something coming from the north. Now that's something that's coming from the north. That's happening on our platform already, because Daniel 11:40 part A is 1798, and it deals with the French Revolution. Maybe not from Revelation 11, but it deals with the French Revolution. It deals with Louis, and it takes us right into the fall of the papacy, where Daniel says the king of the south, which was atheistic France, the policies of Rome. And we see the papacy falling by the king of the south, which is France, which was Luminism, basically, the Jacobins. And we see them going underground. So they got underground, they re-emerged in 1917. And we see that in our time, Daniel 11:40 part B, the papacy is returning with her chariots, with her ships, and with her horsemen. The chariots and ships and horsemen of Daniel 11:40 was United States of America. United States of America was the chariots and ships. We saw Reagan and Pope John Paul II get together. And these are just histories. And I want to say this before I continue, that a lot of young people right now says, stuff the dragon, the beast, and the false. We don't need to know that. It's about the gospel. It's about the gospel. Let me just tell you this straight. The gospel and the prophecy are exactly the same thing. You go into Christ's platform. This is the original first and second and third angel's message, which is Christ's platform. Right there on Christ's platform, the gospel and the prophecy were the same. Those that never understood the prophecy were the ones that were saying, crucify him, crucify him. So when we get down to our days, and you're saying, right, as young people, because you know what's happened to you. What's happened to you is that the winds of the sorcery of the daughters of Rome have entered Adventism. And those winds are blowing through into the Adventism. And we've seen the books of a new order. We've seen the Sabbath lightly regarded, as Ellen White says, yeah. We're seeing, our ABC taken over with purpose-driven life. And you might like purpose-driven life, but it was a tool that Jesuits used. The guy, Robert Schuller, that helped Rick Warren to write that book, man, he's Jesuit trained. He's Jesuit trained, just like Fauci. We go into the medical tyranny that's happening with Fauci, right? He's Jesuit trained. So was Trump. He was Jesuit trained. And what about Biden? Joe Biden right now, proper racist, right? Proper racist. So anyway, we're flicking back here. The youth out there, what's happening to you at this moment is that you're forgetting the things of the past are the things of the future. For instance, the 1,260 years or the 42 months or times and a half, which is the 1260, where the papacy ruled from 538 to 1798. If you don't understand that in its setting, you will not be able to understand that the 1260 begins again. And you need to identify 508 to 538, which is the rise of the papacy. If you don't understand the rise of the papacy and her removing the 3 obstacles, just as pagan Rome did. Pagan Rome, before she came on the scene, she had to remove 3 obstacles out of the way. And guess who helped her? The Jewish nation. God's people helped her. So now if you don't understand 508 to 538, And you don't understand this alliance that happened in 161 BC, where the Jews wrote a league to help pagan Rome. And when pagan Rome went down to Sis Cleopatra and her brother, because there were arms and the library got burnt down. If you don't understand these histories, right, you won't understand Ezekiel's wheels. But Ezekiel says, the wheels within the wheels, the complicated machinery. Now, these wheels that are turning are the same history, 508, 538, but they're coming into our sphere and our time, in the times and seasons that we're living in. So you need to really understand. So don't get fooled, because you're being fooled up by ministers who have been drinking the Kool-Aid of what's coming from the daughters of Rome. This is why they can tell you about, get out there and win the unchurched. You can't win the unchurched. The time is now to win the unchurched. But when they were putting all their money into it, and in Europe, sorry to digress, in Europe, when I was in publishing, they brought in this program called Life Info, I think it was called, and they killed our program, which was the publishing. We were bringing in, there was not many of us. There was just a few of us. We were really the last of the Mohicans. And we were bringing in souls, and we were bringing in tithe money. Now, they brought in this program called the Life Development Program. The Life Development Program was a program that killed everything. Now, they couldn't do that program without the blacks. The Black Jesus money was what was helping the Trans-European division, because millions were coming in from the blacks. And you remember the story, the blacks kept their money because, the racism was going on. And obviously the General Conference had to come down. You understand this history. The same history that happened with Lucy Bryant in America. Here's a black woman. And this black woman, the blacks were paying money out for the hospital, but they have to go through the back door. They can't come through the front door. This is what's going on. And it's the same thing happening in Adventism. This is why you're not learning anything. God ain't gonna bless. I was with a crew, and one of the guys, trust me, not that he was stealing the money. He was doing all kinds of stuff. None of us ever knew. And really, he was into lady boys, and you know what? He was into porn. We ain't saying about his porn. We ain't saying about all these different things that he was on. But listen, he was thieving the money, the tithe money. Now the church, the GC, Trans-European division, they're thieving the money. They got you fooled up, sisters and brothers. And I know you want to believe their words. I know you want to believe them that, go out there. I was watching something from GC yesterday. Just fast forward it quickly, and the guy saying, these vaccines are tested, and we're to take them at your own risk. You'll take it because you don't know the times or the seasons or what's happening. So anyway, we want to get into what the climate bill is about, and the climate bill is really about the Sunday law, and we really need to understand 508, 538 from the perspective of what God is telling us into the third angel's message. The third angel's message is a message that is about love. The whole of Revelation is telling you about the fires that are coming. And you understand that those fires that are coming are the same fires that King Nebuchadnezzar, when he says, hot up the furnace 7 times hotter. Hot the furnace up 7 times hotter. And that furnace are the 7 last plagues. And we're coming to that place where the 7 last plagues, we're going to be entering that soon, because we can see by the temperature with the COVID-19, the health passport, and we know the economy is going to crash. We've seen hyperinflation already. We know that the economy is going to crash. And we know that they're going to bring in the climate bill. And we've seen that climate bill come 2019, before COVID hit. They had passed a bill in Poland. Now, you didn't see that in your messenger. The messenger and these Adventist material are there to dumb you down, keep you off the trail. There's so much different things that are happening that you just don't seem to understand for yourself what is happening. But what is happening is there's a rumble in the jungle, and you ain't hearing it. You're not hearing it because you're preoccupied. So as we get into our presentations, we'll be looking at Revelation 17 and why the angel gave John important instructions. And these important instructions, we have not followed them. And he calls the papacy Mystery Babylon the Great. And he takes you through a series of she is not, and yet to come. Now, the papacy was, she was in 508 to 530 to 79, is not. She had her head taken off. French Revolution, same revolution went underground and started the Bolshevik Revolution that became the Soviet Union bloc. And then, yet to come, we see her coming around again with the chariots, the ships, the horsemen of Daniel 11:40 Part B, where Reagan, the Pope, came together. And we also saw in that time frame, in 1989, we see the merchantmen emerging. Those merchantmen that emerged are the same merchantmen that have full autonomy to vaccinate the world. In America, it was that you could not vaccinate and not go to court. Now these guys don't have to go to court. Look how much people they've killed. You know, there's a guy, you know, I love boxing. I must admit, I like boxing, and I love Marvin Hagler. I remember this fight with Marvin Hagler and John Mugabe. It was just a fight. It was like this, wow. And this guy took the vaccine, died. You know, there's Frank Harron that was promoting the vaccine. You know, they wanted the blacks to take the vaccine first. Remember when Bill Gates and his wife Melinda, they said, you know, the blacks should go first because they understand that the DNA, you know, just like Monsanto understands the DNA. So when they give you these seeds, they more target blacks than anybody else. And let me just say this in my presentation. My presentation, and you may be upset about this here, but my presentation here, I know a lot of English people are not going to be listening to me. I'm not their type. And I learned this when I was in publishing, that you got to hit where it's scratchy. And Hezekiah did the same thing because he wasn't out there looking for the unchurched and the European crowd. He wasn't foolish. He built his people. So for me, right now, there's a load of guys who are like me. A lot of them won't listen to me, but there's a few that will listen to me. And I'm using my publishing skills to know that my audience is the black church at this moment in time. The time has actually come wherein I can win a European person. Because most Europeans, even if they like me, they're not going to come to the church with me. A lot of black guys, they feel uncomfortable, which I understand. They're not used to you. They see you on the TV, and you're you're the bad guy. You're Mr. Bad Man. So we understand that. So when you think you can go out there and the church is telling you can win the unchurched, you ain't winning no unchurched. You may win 1, 2, but you will not. But in this climate now, this is the right time. So right now, I'm building the fortress of truths. I'm skipping here and running here. And then when I got the presentations out roughly now, I can go back. I can say to you, listen, remember I talked about Revelation 7. The one is this, that, and the other. Who is it? And I can break it down and go into it, and I can tie the gospel together and tie both of them. So there's method to my madness at this present moment in time. So anyway, we're looking at Rome, and we're looking at Mystery Babylon and her relationship with the merchantmen. She also has a great relationship with her daughters, and they have a sorcery. And that sorcery is a little bit different from the merchantmen's sorcery. The merchantmen's sorcery, as you know, you break down the word sorcery, it comes out to be pharmakita. Pharmakita, when you check it out, is pharmaceutical drugs. And you know that the merchantmen are using none other than the pharmaceuticals. This is why you got the vaccine. This is why you have the MNR vaccine. The MNR vaccine has so many poisons, but you want to listen to pastor, and pastor tell you, take the vaccine. More fool you. You didn't do your homework. He used to tell you this is conspiracy theories because I've seen it. The whole of the church is telling different people that they're conspiracy theories. No, 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 no. They've got facts and evidence. And as I said earlier on in something else, that if you say Donald Trump, he's a green man, he's from Mars, or if you were, there's a guy that's David Icke, great speaker, got some good truths in there. But, when he tells you that the Queen is from the lizard family and this, that, and the other, that's a conspiracy. Maybe stuff what you're talking about, the vaccines and all that, but the other stuff, it's conspiracy theories. It's a conspiracy theorist, right? He's got truths. Yeah, and I'm not knocking the guy because, believe you me, some of the stuff that he's been saying for years are coming to pass. But he's really a Nostradamus for me because he doesn't understand the times and the seasons. He doesn't understand the revelation of Christ. So we see that the sorcery of the daughters of Rome are different. These are what are blowing through Adventism at the moment. That sorcery is blowing through, and our leaders in the General Conference, they're the ones that are pushing it out there, right? They're the ones that are using the social engineering where youth are actually saying, oh, it's about the gospel. It's about, it's about love. They're not understanding what's really going on. They're not understanding what's going on. The merchantman sorcery, as we know, is really a jab. And the sorcery of the daughters is really coming from the belly of Rome, the belly and bowels of Rome. And we hear many pastors, right, that have lost their faith in the third angel's message are telling you that you must drink the vinegar. Christ drank the vinegar. Christ touched his lips and he moved. And we know that was the wonder drug that Satan had back in those days. That was the wonder drug that Satan was using, the vinegar, right? And Christ wouldn't drink it. When he found out it was the drugs, he moved. So a lot of you want to say that you can take the vaccine and you can God's going to help you through it. You prayed over it. No. When you take that, right, and you're putting yourself in problems. Paul says, man, he'd have you to be blessed in spiritual things as health. You can't just put things in your body and expect God to deal with it. Now, if they held you down and they injected you, you can claim that promise that, Lord, you said that if a serpent bites me, if this happens to me, nothing will happen to me. Then you can claim that. But you can't claim that now. Now, we know that the merchantmen are the new Robocops. And you know that film Robocop? Robocop was artificial intelligence. He was artificial intelligence that, when he come for you, man, hey, you're in trouble. Now, the artificial intelligence that they're using at this present moment, they don't really have the technology. Yes, they are vaccinating you, they're putting nanochips with you, but they cannot properly interface you. They're preparing you. They're actually preparing you with what they're putting into your body that you can interface with computer. But that technology, I don't believe, as much as you've got DARPA, you've got all these other agencies out there, right? I don't think they can properly interface with, yes, to some degree, but not the way they want it to be, right? Not the way they want to be. So if you want to trust the merchantman, the new Robocop, yeah, you keep trusting the Robocop. So this jab really is a blood sacrifice, yeah? Like what the pagans did when they told you to light the candle, or like what the actors and actors do. You don't need to go to Obeah, man, really, for you to be involved with Satan. You can just take off your clothes on the big screen like the actors and actress. You just do a little thing and you're in the club. You don't need to do the rituals and join the church of state. No, you don't need to be in the clubhouse like that, but you can get into it. Now, the new pastors are fooling the youth, as I said. They are becoming the Joel Osteens in Adventism and the Clifford Dollar, and telling you that the revelation of Christ is different than the gospel. But the prophecy and gospel was one, as we saw in Christ's day on his platform when he was born. It's the prophecy and the gospel. The prophecy and the gospel is the third angel message embodied. And the third angel message is what's going to take you through. Now, we're seeing 11th hour workers being developed. We're seeing that General Conference and the different conferences, different pastors, they're quiet. They're not saying anything. right? They're keeping everything still and saying not a word. Now we're seeing lawyers, we're seeing few doctors. Most of the doctors are just the same doctors that were in the time of the Third Reich, that were doctors and nurses that are killing off the patient. But there's a body of nurses and doctors that are standing for the truth and saying, hey, 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 this ain't going down on our watch. We're standing up. We're seeing road sweepers. We're seeing cleaners, right? We're seeing all walks of life standing up. And these are the 11th hour workers. Now, they don't have to understand the prophecy and the gospel like the 144,000. They don't have to, right? They're going to be beheaded. They're going to stand on the little faith that they've got or what they understand. You're seeing a lot of indigenous people coming on board, and you're seeing them proclaiming Christ. Now, within Adventism, Adventism is God's field soldiers. We were meant to be out there, yeah? We're meant to have our medical sanitariums and all these different things, yeah, in place. But we never had them in place. The reason being is that we never trusted God. Do you really think Biden, Fauci, and Gates could have the March of Adventism if we had our stuff going properly? No, 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 no way. They couldn't have it. They could not have it, because Adventism around the world would have been the people who could stop the medical tyranny. Now, within Adventism, you know and I know what's going on. Our hospitals, we sold 70% off to Rome, Mystery Babylon. Now we can understand why she's called Mystery Babylon, because it's a mystery to me. Why a Seventh-day Adventist hospital that the papacies and the Jesuits own 70% of the hospital? It's a real mystery to me. Another mystery to me. I couldn't believe it. I looked up on this site, and there's this WikiLeaks. You know, this is the WikiLeaks of Adventism. Andy Ruddock, I think his name is, yeah? And he's sharing, and he's got the facts and evidence. We're into transgender operations. Transgender operations. Can you believe it? I'm amazed that we're doing transgender operations. I know we were doing the abortions. I saw Mark Finn on YouTube, and you know, he's a man of talent. Please dress. He's great. He's a good speaker, right? No doubt about it. And there's loads of them at GC level that they can speak, you know, like the tongue of angels. But even as Christ says, right, or Paul says, right, even if an angel come speaking with that tongue, I don't trust them, because I know for a fact that those abortions were done on black babies. And we know that the whole thing, especially in America, what's happening in America, that there's more black babies aborted than what's born in the womb. And it's sad. And we are actually, as Seventh-day Adventists, pushing it. But I can understand, you know, when I think of the Lucy Bryant story and what took place in the hospital in America, and when they used to tell you, you know, your church is down the road, I understand it, man. I understand, you know, when I see the Trans-European Division, all the white leaders there, and, you know, they talk to you, oh, hello, we love you. But really they hate you because of the colour of your skin. I understand. And the funny thing is that even though some of them are racist, this is something that God has to take out of them. Because their mums, their families have trained them that way. Have trained them to be people. They don't understand. I remember there's a book called The Fragility of White People. And this is a white lady that writes a book. And she's explaining that, you know, when they tell, oh no, I'm not a racist. She's breaking down that they don't even know. You know, they had a study and about people's minds, and they showed this one study where, you know, they said something about a kid, and in the nursery, right, guess what kid they were looking at? The black kid. And it wasn't the black kid, but they were tapping into the eyes. They understand the science. So much science out there. You know, they could look at your eyes. I remember even there's some blacks that are racist. He was advocate for black people, and he did this check, and you know, he was more frightened of black people, which can be understandable. You know, if you know, if you're into a certain game and you've seen a lot of people who are disadvantaged, like what we saw in America when we saw when the government dropped crack in the black neighborhoods and took away the school system. It was appalling. And then you had all those black men. There was no school, colleges no more. And then the crack epidemic hit, and then to get their votes, what they use now was a war on crime. The white guys could snort coke or whatever, but if you had crack, you're going to do some jail time, some serious jail time. And this was they were using this war on terror and using the blacks. And we've been used as a mule. We've seen it in Europe. If you know, and obviously a lot of you ain't gonna listen to me because obviously, your pastor's not telling you that. And be honest with you, everything your pastor tells you, even today that all over the net, whether it be in America, whether it be in Jamaica, whether it be in Germany, they're not telling you nothing about COVID-19 and what it really is. And why is that? Because they know they got you dumbed down. They know they got you fooled. They know what kind of people you are. They know that, listen, man, that basically they got all of us fooled, and we're just dopey as far as they're concerned, especially the blacks. And they're saying that put anything in the book blacks don't read, but today we can see that it doesn't seem like the Europeans can read neither, because the facts out there of what's going on. So we've seen lymphoma workers. They've been developed already, right? We've seen them being developed, yeah? We've seen Adventism moving to abortions, and now they're doing transgender operations. 70% of the hospitals are owned by Mystery Babylon, Rome. And this is so terrible, what we see. Now, the Lord says to us, yeah, that he will show us greater abominations, right? Ezekiel and the 4 and 20 men. And then we're seeing these great abominations because the climate bill is really the problem. And I think the Pope calls it Laodicea or something like that. In France, I remember Donald Trump, they want to get involved in it. He said, nah. And all the other nations are getting involved in it. And we see what's happening in Europe. And obviously, the 10 kings of Europe and, the office in Brussels, but, really want to deal with the real 10 kings, which will really deal with the United Nations, which is the real 10 kings. But we see the climate bill coming, the global holiday, and nobody's talking about it. But what's going to happen is that you're going to come unstuck, because the climate bill is the Sunday law. And most of you who've been vaccinated, right, it's a test case, because you've gone along with the social engineering. We've seen Facebook, we've seen Instagram, we've seen the whole of these social media platforms. They're moving us, and we move like a bruised reed in the wind, like what the Pharisees were, what Jesus called them, the bruised reed in the wind. John the Baptist wasn't. He wasn't the bruised reed. And this is what's happening to us today. We are being moved, constantly being moved. Why is it that you have the Muslims? Remember, they didn't take the shekels, so they didn't take the shackles. But Adventists took the shekels on the charity status, so we're shackled now. We can't say a word. We're tied in with ADRA, and ADRA was injecting blacks around the world. And you could be upset. I don't care. You support ADRA. I didn't know that ADRA was there giving out the injections that Bill and Melinda and all these other guys, they were using you guys, but you saw some of the people, what was happening to them, just like what we're seeing now with the vaccination program that's going on. We're seeing people dropping there from myocarditis, having heart attacks, and we're seeing it, but we're not saying nothing. Just like those that worked at ADRA, I'm no different. Okay. I'm coming out. I'm saying a few words. Yeah, but am I really doing anything? really. Not really. I'm just praying that, you know, the smoke underneath my tail gets me moving. Because I need to be doing something, because I'm like the rest of those that Adrian that were injecting the people. I'm no different than them. I'm a sinner. And I'm praying by God's grace that somehow the little that we can do out there right now, right, get into the gospel, the prophecy, right, that people understand that, listen, man, that oneness that the Father had with Adam, where we saw God and man as one, and the Holy Spirit could be blown into the man, and Christ and the Father can find a resting place in the man. This is what I'm praying, that Christ can find a resting place, and that his Spirit can live in me, and that the fear that I have, because I have fear, you know, I have fear. You know, I got the fear too, like Jonah. You know, not that fear that Jonah had, sorry, like Elijah that ran from Jezebel. You know, I only got the fear that, man, I'm frightened that if I say this, man, the people are going to be saved. No, I want the people to be saved. I'm on the run from Jezebel. I'm not worried about the church so much. I'm worried about the merchantman. I'm worried about the pastor giving up my name, sending this video up now, because I know they do. I know they will. Now, I know of a guy who was in the Present Truth Circle, and the pastor didn't like him. And the pastor didn't think that he had his immigration sorted out. And the pastor called the immigration on him. When it come, man, pastor to turn his face, because, nah, man. And this is Seventh Day. We're talking about Seventh Day Adventists. Seventh Day Adventists. So, I'm going to pause here, because I think I've done about 15 minutes. And I'm going to start again, because I want to try and make these 15, 20 minutes, something like that. So do bear with me, and I'm going to bring up another part